First, I would like to inform you the agenda of today's seminar. We will begin with a short movie on Indonesian palm oil, and then the opening remarks by Indonesian ambassador to Poland, and then the panel session. So, to start the agenda, we would like to play with for you a short video on palm oil.
Merupakan komitmen dari pemerintah Indonesia untuk menerbitkan suatu sistem kelapa sawit berkelanjutan Indonesia memperbaiki tata kelola penggunaan kelapa sawit, pengurangan emisi gas rumah kaca, perlindungan terhadap lingkungan sesuai dengan prinsip sustainability. ISPO adalah sebuah komitmen dari petani kelapa sawit Indonesia kepada pembangunan berkelanjutan.
Kalau dulu kita memupuk, memanen suka-suka kita kalau kita, nah sekarang kita itu sertifikasi mulai dari perawatan, pemanenan, pemupukan, semuanya itu diarahkan sesuai dengan CAP.
Sian Agri mulai bekerja dengan Amani sejak tahun 2012. Selalu berdampingi amanah dalam proses sertifikasi. Kemudian tahun 2013, amanah hasil proses sertifikasi RSPO dan sertifikasi ISPO di tahun 2017.
Dengan sertifikasi kita tahu lah yang dulunya kita nggak tahu tentang perawatan kebun, kita juga dibutuhkan untuk menuju sawit yang berkelanjutan.
Petani mendapatkan energi baru, mendapatkan ilmu baru bagaimana kita mengelola sawit secara berkelanjutan.
Dalam pengelolaan yang baik inilah kita berdamai dengan lingkungan kita untuk kebaikan kita di depannya.
Concern pihak-pihak di Eropa sangat besar mengenai sustainability dari palm oil kita. Karena bagi kita, jawabannya adalah ISPO, Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil.
Dalam menuju pembangunan kelapa sawit berkelanjutan khususnya di Indonesia, pemerintah memerlukan dukungan dan kolaborasi berbagai pihak, termasuk negara-negara EU dalam mendorong sektor kelapa sawit di Indonesia menuju lebih sustainable itu penting.
Kita ajak delegasi Eropa dan perwakilan dari kedutaan besar dari negara Eropa di Jakarta untuk melihat seperti apa sih petani kecil kita bisa memenuhi standar-standar dalam ISPO. Mulai kita ajak juga mereka melihat langsung seperti apa perusahaan negara yang sudah berhasil memenuhi ISPO dan juga sudah mempunyai sertifikasi RSPO yang lebih banyak dari Eropa.
European and Spanish societies in a concern for sustainability and fight against climate change. So all the efforts being taken to ensure that palm oil production in Indonesia is sustainable have our backing for sure. And also we've heard that this work is being carried out in order to improve the current system. So those are very good news.
Harapan kita adalah pihak Uni Eropa segera siap untuk membahas lebih dalam sustainable palm oil certification seperti apa yang lebih bisa diterima oleh bagaimana menjadikan ekspor lebih baik sehingga dapat diterima di semua negara Uni Eropa yang membeli minyak sawit dari Indonesia.
Thank you. And to continue the agenda, we would like to invite Her Excellency Siti Nugraha Maulidiah, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, to deliver her remarks. Excellency.
Honorable Mr. Patrus Monarki, Member of Parliament, Honorable Mr. Janusz Piłeczynski, Chairman of Polish Asia Chambers of Commerce, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for gracing our event with your presence here. And we also would like to thank to the speakers of our today's seminar who will deliver presentation on palm oil and other related issues. Ladies and gentlemen, palm oil plantations and their derivative products are part and parcels of Indonesian economy, as well as Indonesian commitments to sustainable development goals. Why? Because this industry is labor intensive, top export commodity, economic growth main driver, and it's also energy security contributor. As some of you are aware, palm oil plantation and their related industry in Indonesia absorb more than 20 million employments. I repeat, 22 million employments in palm oil industry, respectively around 6 million farmers and 16 million workers palm oil related industries. Total value of CPO and their derivative products reached $21.4 billion in 2018, and it contributes 3.5% of Indonesian GDP. In terms of energy security, palm oil could produce biomass and biodiesels, equivalent to 9.1 million kiloliters since 2015. It shows us how significant palm oil plantation and its related industries to Indonesia as well as to the world. Indonesian government, since the beginning, has always put high priority on palm oil issues by regulating the industry in a manner that ensures all the processes are sustainable and no harm done to the environment. The latest government policy, the Presidential Decree number 6 of 2019, issued on the 22nd November 2019, is on National Action Plans on Sustainable Palm Oil Plantation for the 2019 to 2024 period, stipulated 5 programs that should be carried out by related ministries and institutions, namely, making accurate data, strong coordination and infrastructure, developing farmer capacities and capabilities, environmental management and assessment, plantation management and dispute settlement mechanism, accelerating the implementation of Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil or ISPO, and increasing market access of palm oil products. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from our own domestic towards sustainable palm oil industry, we are also actively engaged and encourage sustainable palm oil mechanism through Council of Palm Oil Producing Countries, or CPOPC. Today, Dr. Bandung Sahari from PT Astra Argo, Dr. Johannes Berenika Kadarusman from University of Paramadina, and Dr. Malgorzata Roge Wisniewska from Polish RSPO Coalition will share with us their views on palm oil from different angles and perspectives. I hope today's seminar could enrich our understanding on Indonesia's sustainable palm oil and different perspectives on natural sustainability. I also hope that this seminar could contribute to the efforts of disseminating accurate information about palm oil, as we know that there has been negative campaign based on unsubstantiated data. Today among us, there are businessmen, representatives of think tank, academia, member of parliament, journalists, as well as diplomats. And I hope all of you could also contribute your views on palm oil sustainability discussion today. Once again, thank you very much for sparing your time to be with us here today, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. And to start the panel session, I would like to invite Mr. Anwar Rahman Hakim to moderate the panel session.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. To start off, I would like to invite our speakers for today's discussion. May I invite Dr. Małgorzata Roge-Wisniewska. The second speaker is from Indonesia, Dr. Johannes B. Kadarusman. And also from Indonesia, Dr. Bandung Sahari. As we're going to have three speakers with us today, and I would like to start off from the host country here. We have Dr. Małgorzata Roge-Wisniewska from the Polish Coalition for Sustainable Palm Oil.
About Polish Coalition for Sustainable Palm Oil. This coalition is an independent initiative. The official signing was a few months ago in June this year, and we have one strategic goal. It's 100% sustainable palm oil in Poland latest in 2 years. So it's very ambitious plan, I think. And we clearly define rules for participation and amount of fees. And we have a scientific board. I'm a part of the scientific board. And the secretariat of coalition provide CSR consulting. We in the beginning we have 12 members, and now we have 2 more. It's Balsam and Rapa. But as you can see, there is a list of very big companies in Poland. Some of them are Polish and some of them are international. Most of them are international. And in members there are 2 environmental non-governmental organizations. It's WWF and Forum Odpowiedzialnego Biznesu. It's a CSR fund. And we have, in the scientific council, we have 3 experts, and it's Dr. Tomasz Bocheński, consultant in Frost and Sullivan, Professor Krzysztof Krieger from Warsaw University of Life Sciences, and me from the University of Warsaw. And we have 3 working groups. Every group have their own tasks, and other activities on this year is to start monitoring the use of certificate palm oil and to make a conference in the June next year. And as you can see, we follow RSPO certification. And it would be great if we find more companies and start international cooperation to make the palm oil plantation as sustainable as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And it's certainly going to be exciting for us if we could further develop this cooperation between Indonesia and Poland with Polish for this regarding this palm oil issue. And to continue our time today, and I would like to invite Dr. Johannes Kadarusman. He's a senior lecturer at Prasetya Mulia University, School of Business and Economics. He obtained his PhD of Development Policy and Management from the School of Environment and Development, University of Manchester, Manchester, UK. He's married with 1 child? 2 children. 2 children.
Now I have 2 children. And 1 wife.
Dr. Kadarusman, you have the floor.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak for today. Actually, I'm here just to share my view on how Indonesia is progressing towards sustainable palm oils. Again, because I am academician, so I'm sorry if I use some concept in economics, in business management and development study to explain some issues in Indonesian palm oils. Actually, this is the outline of my presentation. We have 4 sections, yeah. And I will start with the development of Indonesian palm oils, to give you some overall pictures about the palm oil in Indonesia. And we start with the history of palm oil in Indonesia. Actually, palm oil in Indonesia developed since early 19th century, yeah, when that scientist brought palm oil seeds from the West Africa to be planted in Indonesia. And then in the early developments, some corporation invest in the plantation in Indonesia, and we can guess that the company, the corporate, is come from the global corporates. Most or some of the corporation come from the European Unions, like from UK, from France, and so on. And then actually the rapid expansion in palm oil in Indonesia began in the mid 1990s, because due to the combination of the demand factors and also the supply factors. On the supply side, actually the palm oil was very success, because we have the programs we call the nucleus estate and plasma smallholders, yeah, which is how we can standardizing between the large plantation and the smallholder in Indonesia. Sorry for the. It's okay. Oops, sorry. And so from the supply sides, yeah, the palm oil is the most productive vegetable oils. Yeah. If we have the reference in here, okay, if we take some reference from the other source. Yeah. For instance, the palm oil yields 9 times more vegetable oil than soybeans, and 7.5 times more than rapeseeds, and 6 times more than sunflowers, yeah, per hectares. Yeah. Of course, consequently, palm crops uses the least land in producing vegetable oil. For instance, in 2015, yeah, the palm oil only use 3.5% of the world's total agricultural lands. And the total vegetable oil in the world use 3.55%, and then the palm oil contributes only just 23% of the world's farmlands. And then again, the next program, the Nucleus Estates program in Indonesia, was funded by the World Banks, especially aiming at helping establish smallholding for landless and poor settlers, yeah, the poor people living around the forest in Indonesia, yeah, especially to use the unexploited land suitable for the plantation, yeah, including the palm oils. Yeah. Next, please. And this is the graph to show you that the palm oil in Indonesia growing rapidly since 1980s, yeah, since 1960s, yeah. And we have in Indonesia 3 actors in the palm oil. We have the private companies, private plantation. We have the state-owned plantations, and we also have the smallholder farmers. Yeah. And we have this rapid growing, yeah, in Indonesia for all the actors, for all the plantations. Next. And then this is the palm oil in Indonesia in 2017. We have 12.6 million hectares land area of the palm oil in Indonesia. And then if we distinguish into the 3 actors, yeah, we have the 55%, yeah, is account for the private large plantations, and then 6% for the state-owned plantation, and the about 40% is for the smallholder. So I need to highlight this contribution that in Indonesia, the smallholder contributes significantly to the total land area of the palm oil. And then the next Sorry, the next one. Sorry. We have also the palm oil production in 2017. Yeah. We can produce 38.70 million tons in 2017. And again, if we look at the contributions, we have 60% is contributed by the large plantations, the private plantations, and we have only 8% contributed by the state-owned plantation, and we also have the 32% contributed by the smallholder farmer. So actually, we have the smallholders significantly contribute to our productions. And if we compare between the two graphs in here, we can conclude that we have the low productivity of the smallholders compared with the large plantation. For instance, we have the total area for the smallholder is 40%, but the contribution to the production only 40%. Yeah. If you compare with the large private plantation, they only contribute 55%, but they contribute to 60% to the productions. Yeah. So we can see that we have lower productivity in smallholder plantations. The next one. And again, why we need plantation in Indonesia? Because of course the plantation has positive impacts on economics, activities, and employment, as Mrs. Ambassador said before, and also we can reduce poverty. Yeah, the poor people in Indonesia, especially people living around the forest. This is the story. Yeah, this is a story about the poor people living around the forest in Indonesia. This is the typical stories I taken from the Indonesian newspapers in 2007. So this is how poor people living around the forest in Indonesia. This is the typical ones. And next, please. And also in the remote and very remote area in the forest, farm also help the people to have a dignified life by accessing education, health care, and also drinking water facilities, as well as they can enhancing the social cohesion between the peoples. Yeah. This is what the positive impact of the palm oil in Indonesia. Next, and of course, we cannot ignore that the palm oil development also bring about negative impacts on the environments. Yeah, as we can call the transformation of the forest use. You may call it deforestation. Yeah. And then because we have the positive impact as well as the negative impact. So as a palm oil producing country, Indonesia is facing a trade-off. Yeah. In economic island about the trade-off. If you want something, you have to give up something else. That is the trade-off. So it means that if you want to have a qualified environment, so you need to give up the human well-being, human well-doing. That is what I learned in economics about the trade-off. Yeah. And sometimes the trade-off we can call created the opportunity costs that we have to take into account in our decisions. Yeah. Next. And then the second section I will discuss about the sustainability governance, especially in the nexus between Indonesia and EU under the RSBO. Yeah, I think you have known about the RSBO, and I can conclude that there are some disagreements between the nexus Indonesia and EU. Yes, please. What is the disagreements? Yeah, we will discuss later on. Again, because we have the positive, the palm oil have the negative impacts on the environment. So in order to reduce the negative impacts, so the global palm oil buyers like Unilever, in cooperation with the global environment NGOs like the WWF, they initiated the establishment of the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil (RSPO) in 2004. And then what the RSPO do is set environment and social sustainability principles and standard E and C to be met, especially by its members, including palm oil producers, traders, buyers, and so on. And then if they met with the principle and standard, so they will get market entry into the EU, because the EU market accept only for the RSPO certifieds. Yeah. And then if the palm oil producer follow the certificate procedure, they will get the level of certified sustainable palm oil, CSPO, like in these ones. Yeah, we have the certified palm oil. And then based on the RSPO websites in 2017, there is only 2.03 million hectares of palm oil area has been certified CSPO, and the production volume is about 8.9 million tons all around the world, all around the global plantations, palm oil plantations. Next. And again, in business management, I learned about the product differentiations. So, what the meaning of the product differentiation? So, because the CSPO, sustainable palm oil, is different from others or non-certified palm oil. So again, why the company has to differ the product with the others? Of course, they should be sold at a higher price to compensate the additional cost in acquiring the certification, the CSPO. That is the business medians taught me about the product differentiations. And then for this reason, some certification in agricultural product, such the fair trades, in this, like this one, the logos, provide a guaranteed price premium for the crops, for the product will have the certified fair trade certificates. So, before, yes. Okay. Or like rainforest alliances, they try to increase the market demand for the certified crops. So that is why in some agricultural product they have the higher price compared with the non-certified products or crops. And this is the picture taken from the Aldi supermarket in Manchester. It's very commonly to find the fair trades logo or the rainforest logo, but I miss the RSPO logo in the shelf of the supermarkets. Next. How about the RSPO? In fact, RSPO doesn't guarantee the palm oil or price premiums. While the market demand for the RSPO is stagnant. So again, from the website, the RSPO in 2019, the demand is only 5.9 million tons, but the supply, you can see the supply is much higher, is about 11.9 million tons. So we have the excess supply in the certified palm oil or RSPO certified. That is the thing I think we have to take into account when we have discussed about the sustainable palm oils. And then again, the next one in the business management, I also learned some of market entry concept, the concept of the market entry. Actually, we have three kinds of the market entry. For instance, the palm oil, how the palm oil enter into the EU markets. The one is we have called the blockaded entry. It means that if the palm oil has no competitiveness with the other vegetable oil in the EU market, so the palm oil cannot enter the EU markets. For instance, because the price or the cost is higher than the other vegetable oil in EU. That is the blockaded market. And then the second one, if the palm oil has the competitiveness, for instance, in the cost and the price, so the market can give some requirement. For instance, the RSPO, RSPO certified palm oil. So because the producer of palm oil has at some cost to get the certified, so it means the cost will increase and the price also will increase, and then the other vegetable oil in the European market can compete with the palm oil. But if the palm oil has been certified, the RSPO certified, but still has competitiveness, so we have the first one, we have the deterred entry. The deterred entry means that okay, the EU market can deter the entry of the palm oil. Of course, by using some of the what we call the trade measures, trade barriers, ranging from the high import tariffs, and then until to we call unfair market competition. For instance, we have the logos of the palm oil, no palm oil, and then in the France, I cannot say it in France, and then we have the logos of Zondervan palm oil in the Dutch, rather than the CSPO certified that I mentioned before, that I missed, that I cannot find the RSPO logos in the shelf on the supermarkets around the around the European Union. Next. And then, if we look at the RSPO itself, so actually they have the RSPO next 2015. So the RSPO adopts a more stringent standards, sustainability standards. For instance, no, it starts with the no. So I need to underline no deforestation, no fires, no planting on trees. So basically, we Indonesian palm oil have only option no or yes, or in the binary number. If you know the binary number, it's the option only 1 or 0. So actually, the standard doesn't tolerate the condition, the status between 0 or 1, or between no or yes. So I mean that there is the RSPO standard doesn't tolerate the not yet the status, or 0.5 or 0.6 or 0.7 or something like that. So they don't tolerate about the between, about no and yes, 1 or 0. So again, in the development studies, I learned about the normative sustainability. In development studies, I learned about the weak sustainability, in contrast with the strong sustainability. Or in others reference, if we have the RSPO next 2015, start with the no. So actually, we discuss no more on sustainability, but we discuss more on clean supply, not the sustainability supplies. That what I learned in the development studies, because we have the different normative about the sustainability. So actually, we discuss about the clean supplies instead of the sustainable. So I can imagine that the RSPO requires us like a clean sheet. So we don't have. So I can imagine that the new standard requires us about the clean sheets, without anything about just a tiny dot or tiny like this one. That is what I can say about the new ISO next 2015. And then again, what happened in Indonesia with the more stringent standards of RSPO? Again, the standard, we have to choose, Indonesia has to choose between the environment conservations, but by giving up, sacrificing the human well-being and well-being, the poverty. That is what I can say about the new standards of ISPO. And then next. And then again, because we have the strong sustainability or the clean supply, actually Indonesia is put in a dilemma, because we have the smallholders, as I mentioned before. We have about the 40% of the smallholders. And then, what's the number about the 40% of smallholders in palm oil in Indonesia? It's about 5 million, or Mrs. Ambassador said about 6 million people, 6 million farmers. So, by this number, actually Indonesia cannot ignore about the poverty, about the smallholder farmers, because the number is quite large. It's 5 million farmers. And this is the what we call the typical smallholder, the poor smallholders. Actually, what matter for them is how to survive. How to survive. They don't even think about the environment. That is what we have to deal with in Indonesia. We deal with the poor people, poor smallholders. That is what we need to take into account when we have to take some decisions. And then again, the issue of sustainable palm oil is now beyond the buyer-producer relationship, beyond the B2B relationships, because now the EU involving some nation states, supranational states, for instance, with the second renewable energy directives, you know about the second renewable energy directives, to abolish the palm oil in the biofuel in 2030. That is the second renewable energy directions. Next. And then, this is what I mentioned before, that Indonesia, we have to deal with the poverty. We have to deal with the poor smallholder farmers in the palm oil. That is, again, we have the disagreement between Indonesia and the EU, especially about the concept of sustainability, the normative, because the normative mean that it depends on the value, it depends on the judgment, it depends on the cultures, it depends on the perspectives between Indonesia as a producing country and EU as a buyer's country. So the challenge now for me, because how the stakeholder of global palm oil can lessen these agreements, especially in the issue of sustainability in the palm oil, especially between Indonesia and EU, because EU is still a big market for Indonesian palm oil, so we need to solve these problems. Otherwise, if we cannot solve this problem, I'm afraid that again, if we cannot solve this problem, it will bring about the politically defensive measures. We have another trade war, not only between US and China, but maybe between Indonesia and EU. So we need to solve these disagreements between Indonesia and EU about the sustainability issues. Next. And then what kind of resolution of these agreements? Of course, this is my suggestion, this is my opinions. Okay, I propose to have a producer-driven sustainability governance. So actually, we need to put our shoes as a producing country. We need to look as a producing country, as Indonesia as a producing country of palm oil. That is the essence of the proportions. Next. And then what the meaning of the producer-driven sustainability governance? First, I think we need to reformulate the governance, sustainability governance, especially again by taking into account the value, the norms, the cultures of the producing country. For this case, Indonesians. And then again, in economics, I learned about the social utility functions or social indifference groups. So basically, we can use the concept to look at about the producer-driven sustainability governance. Next, if you look at the social indifference groups, actually, this is the very the concepts about the indifference group in islands in economics. So basically, what we can do right now is we can move from the inefficient point in this one into the efficient point around the social utility, social indifference curve, EU. And then over the time, we progress towards the more optimal points. We have moved by segments to this point O here, or point O over there. What the difference between the optimal and the efficient one is we have for the optimal mix, the optimal combination between the human well-doing and the economic conservation is we have the critical one. We have the minimum, the minimum economic conservation, and we have the minimum human well-being, human well-doing. That is the difference between the U indifference curve in here and the S indifference curves over there. The optimal mix, the optimal one. Next, please. And then the second one, I also suggest that we can put again the national states of the producer countries back in palm oil governance, sustainability governance. especially to enhance, to increase its outcomes. Yeah. Because what I think about the nation state is can sometimes create more balanced power relations, especially between producing countries and the buying countries. Yeah. And then the second one, the nation state can sometimes improve the outcome, the sustainability outcome by establishment of the legally binding public policy and regulations. That is what we need to, again, put the national state of producer back into the governance. And then, again, in Indonesia, this is my opinion, so based on the concept from the utility function in different schools, again, Indonesia right now is how to reach the efficient mix. Yeah. So, how we, if you look back at the how Indonesia right now is how to move from the inefficient ones to the efficient one, the point efficient in the indifference of E. Yeah. And then over the times, Indonesia can progress, can improve towards the optimal combination, the optimal mix, with the minimum human value, the minimum value, human value, and also the minimum economic, environmental conservations. Yeah. And then next, and then to reach the efficient mix, so the government Indonesia now adopt the UN, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal (SDGs). Yeah. Because with Indonesia think the SDGs is a common global value to deal with the sustainability issues, including in palm oil. That is why Indonesia now adopt the UN SDGs, because Indonesia thinks that the SDG is a common global value, not Indonesian value, not the European Union value. So we have the what in the between the producing country values and the buyers country value. That is why I think Indonesia, the reason why Indonesia adopts the UN SDGs. Next. And then, of course, what the Indonesians doing to progress toward the sustainable palm oil, the optimal mix, the optimal combinations in the different goods. I think we have two cases in this area. One is the establishment of the ISPO, Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil. This is the Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil, ISPO. So what I want to highlight in this ISPO is what the difference between the ISPO and the ISPO. Again, because the ISPO has a mandatory status, so it will affect all the palm oil producers, including the small holders. In RSPO, we have the voluntary status. That is, if you want to meet with the ISPO, please come. And then they don't have, they don't push you to join with the ISPO. But in the ISPO, it's a mandatory status. That is the difference between the ISPO and RSPO. And then again, the ISPO is trying to align with the common global rule of games, the common global standards. So, for instance, that the ISPO is aligning with the WTO rules of the games. So, for instance, ISPO Indonesia doesn't have the discrimination between the vegetable oil. So, for instance, Indonesia also import a lot of soybean from United States, but we don't expect, we don't ask, we don't require the soybean have the suitable standards, because otherwise we will discriminate between the vegetable oils. That is the WTO, and so the ISPO is aligning with the ISO in environmental. So this is some in ISPO that I want to highlight. And then the next case is about the smallholder farm inventory program. I think this is the more important things. Again, because Indonesia as a producing country has to deal with the poor smallholder farmers. Yeah. And then what is the smallholder palm replanting programs? Of course, we replant about 5 million. Yeah. 5 million hectares is 40% from the 12 million hectares of the smallholder palm trees, especially aged 20 years and more. It actually the smallholders, most of the smallholders inheritance from the nucleus estates program in 1990s. Yeah. That is what we need to deal with, the smallholders. Yeah. And then this is the targets. And then what the objective of the programs? Yeah, of course, to increase the productivity of the smallholder. From now on, it's about 2 or 3 tons per fresh fruit bunch of the palm oil per hectare per year to 8 tons per year. And then implicitly, to reduce the deforestation. So they need to open a new forest. They need to open make some fire, some and so on. Yeah. This is I think the most important things in the replanting program. And again, the program is funded by ourselves, by Indonesian as a producing countries. Yeah. We collected the money. The fund is from the export duties with the reference price, the export price. That is why I think this is more important things in progressing, how Indonesia progressing toward the sustainable palm oil. So actually we do the best ourselves. That is the point I need to highlight. And then next one. And this is the pictures, how the replanting programs for the smallholders. So they keep the land and then plant the new palm oil seeds instead of open the new forest. This is how the replanting program do. And then the last. So that is I can share my view that is on how the government of Indonesia and how the Indonesian progression toward the sustainable palm oil. And then because I think the Indonesia has progressing toward the sustainable palm oil, actually we need the support from the global stakeholder of palm oil, including all the participants in here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rizwan, for sharing your views, your academic views on what are the issues related to the sustainability of the palm oil in Indonesia. And for our last speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Bandung Sahari. He's from the Sustainability Division of the Indonesian Palm Oil Association. He is also serving as a Senior Vice President of Sustainability of the Astra Agrolestari. He obtained his PhD from the Bogor Institute of Agriculture. And he's married with 3 children. Please.
Thank you very much, Mas Anwar, for the introductions. Ibu Menini, mohon izin. Very good morning, not really morning. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. And I see this as an opportunity to share what we have done in the past and when possible to get some very valuable input from you for the improvements. And then actually I'm not academician. I would like to, my presentation would more focus on the technical things. And then what I know is, I'm a grower actually, so then what I know is planting the trees, harvesting, something like that. Okay. No, I have a video, but maybe later after the presentation is ended. Okay, this is only the picture that, you know, that palm oil is in every product, more than 700 products in the world. So if you wake up in the mornings and then you start to go to the schools or office and until evenings. So there's always palm oil in your clothes, in your makeup, in your food, in many other things. Next slide. So, what is the meaning of palm oil for Indonesian people? Then I'm Indonesian people, and we have experienced the sufferings of colonialists for more than 300 years. And then we start to build up this country since our independence with lack of technology, lack of education, and high poverty rate. And then 20 years after the independence, so then we experienced the tremendous political dynamic. And my grandfather died because of this. And palm oil is just like a candle in the dark, shining, giving a hope, a chance for us to rise and to flow. This is what I see personally. And as you can see there, that the palm oil started to develop in 1978 and until today, and until 2018. And that's also the market share of the vegetable oils. And then this palm oil start to compete with other vegetable oils and replacing other vegetable oils. Next slide, Matt. Thank you. And this really affects rural people. As you can see from ini bisa dibaca ada. Thank you. And you can see here from nothing, and we have something. And from nothing, the welfare is like this. And this is real in our country. Next slide. And then this is the trade balance and how this palm oil helps in the trading balance. And in the past, we really depend on the oil and gas, but today now, we really depend on the palm oil. You know how the importance of the palm oil for our country. And this is something that Dr. Rusman has explained it before, and also Ibu Ambassador also has explained it before. Okay, next slide, please. And this is the export destinations of palm oil as of September 2019. And this is European Union. And this is based on the product. Next slide, please. And why palm oil is so efficient? Because of for 1/3 of the natural types of the oil. So palm oil only needs less than 1 hectare. But rapeseed need more than 1 hectare. Sunflower need more, and soya about 2 hectares. And what about the contributions of the productions? The production is very high. That's why the palm oil promise a glimmer of hope in our country to provide more benefits to our country, because it is very, very efficient and very cheap. Next slide, please. And this is the shapes of the plantations. As you can see here, the sunflower, the soya plantations, and this sunflower rapeseeds, all palm. This is 10 years, more than 15 years old palm, and you need to. It's very difficult to harvest actually. You need to have the skill to do that. Okay, next one. And this is the business process, how the CPO is produced, and from the seedlings and the immature, and then start to produce the oil, and until the bunch, entering the mills, and the oil is extracted. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is all derived of the palm oil from the FFB, and then we have the CPO, PKO, and then we use the shell and also the fiber and also empty fruit bunch. This is, we use the shell and fiber for many other things. This is, we use the shell and fiber to replace the utilizations of fossil fuel. And the empty bunch goes to the plantations for the fertilizer to provide more organic material for the soil. And the trunk, you can use the trunk for many different products. You can use for the furniture and also paper material. I think there's a lot of chance to use the waste of palm oil. So our policy is that zero waste policy. Okay, next slide, please. And concerning the land use, so for the Indonesian case, so this is the forest area, this is non-forest area. So palm oil only cover this. As in terms of forest cover, so Indonesia is in the top, on the top. Okay, next slide, please. So, how is the sustainability practices implemented on the ground? So then we can see here that the support from the government's policy, from the government is very strong, with various policies supporting the sustainability practices on the ground, including the palm oil moratoriums. This is to give us time to evaluate the palm oil and also to increase the productivity rather than to enlarge the size of palm oil plantations. And also the sustainability certifications where Dr. Rosman has explained before. And also the no deforestation and also no pit exploitation commitment is adopted by many palm oil companies in Indonesia. And this policy, this commitment is applied to all supply chains. So this is our spirits, how to do this sustainability, not only for trading, but this is for our own need. We need that. And we are progressing on that direction. Next slide, please. And I would like to invite you to our country actually, so to see how our plantations, how we grow these trees, and how we manage the high carbon stocks area. This is real. So then we took this picture actually 2 months ago. This is the example of the high carbon stock forest in the concessions in Kalimantan. This is the replanting area, and we still keep the intact forest inside the concessions. You can see in different places, like this. This is really. Prove it by coming to our country. And this, this is the housing complex. This is the forest housing complex with the plantations. Okay, next slide. So, this is our riparian ecosystems. So this riparian ecosystem is very important as a home for many endangered species, and for the ecosystem functions. And as you can see, we still maintain the riparian ecosystem. As this is in Sumatra, in Rio actually, and this is the plantation. We still maintain the riparian ecosystem, and this is the strip of forest, as you can see here, Next slide, please. Sebelumnya lompat? Oke, nggak lompat. Sorry. Okay, this is, if you come into detail, into the forest, this is the forest of the Sorea Balangeran. Sorea Balangeran is the critically endangered species. And this species is typically in Kalimantan, in Sumatra. You cannot find this species in other countries in the world. So, and then we try to work on this conservation of these trees. So, this is because of it in the swamps forest, so then the seeds fall down here, and then it will not grow if the water coming again. We need to save that seeds and try to do the nursery and replant the species again. And this is other species, woolly. This wood is, in the past this wood was very commercial one. And now it is an endangered species, and we are trying to develop the nursery and replant this species again. Okay, next slide. And the restorations progress. This is the example of restorations on the ground that we try to develop. This is the planting in 2014. And so we also monitor how these species and these restorations work. And we took the picture from the same point, so then you can see the development, the progress. And this is the design. This is from the side, and this is from above, from drone picture of the restorations. This is also real, in real. Next slide. And this is another restorations programs, the macro ecosystem. So this is what we try to do, and we did the same thing for that audience. And this is from drone picture, and we also try to work with the university to evaluate the recolonizations of the species. And you can see here the recolonizations of the species. It happened. The migrant species here, they are coming back in this area because it provides more fish, more food for them. Next slide. And this is our biodiversity conservation in all farm landscapes. So I took this picture, and not me actually, but my team. Took these pictures on purpose from the Alpha, because if I took the pictures from natural ecosystem, you won't believe it, that this species is still in the landscape. So this is the bird, this is the python here, the monkey, the eagle, and this is how we do the conservation. This is me. So you are very lucky if you can find that kind of python, because it's very difficult to find. Next slide. And this is also we do the very diversity monitoring by using the camera traps. And you can see the very size species. Next slide, please. And concerning the pest control, so maybe in many people's imagination that we use the pesticide to control the pest populations. It is not. Actually, on the ground, so this is the pest attack, rat attack, we have this. We have early warning systems. We do the monitoring of the pest populations, not only to monitor the status of the pest, but also to monitor the ecosystem quality. And this is the natural enemies. We call it the cicanos. Cicanos is feeding on the pest. And this is barn owl, feeding on the rat. And to maintain all the natural enemies, we plant flowering non-crop vegetations here, because they also feed on the nectar. And we plant these beautiful flowering herbs in this area, and we also establish the artificial nest for this barn owl. Next slide. Concerning the zero waste policy, so then this is the pond for the pomade, for palm oil meal influence and aerobic resistance, and after it is safe, and then we apply to the plantations to increase the input as an organic fertilizer. And we also use the cell and fiber to replace fossil fuel utilizations. So then for the meal, so we use less than 1%. 90% use the cell and fiber. And so to also the methane capture. Methane capture actually contribute to 70 to 80% of the palm oil CPO productions. And when we do this, the methane capture, so that if we can reduce more than 70% of emissions, at the same time, it produces energy, biogas. Next slide, please. And this is the biofuel program from the government, and from B to 20, and it increased the local consumptions of the palm oil until 2 million tons of the palm oil. Next slide, please. Concerning the fire prevention and fightings, as you can see here, this is from the fire report for Indonesia, Global Forest Fire Watch. So this is from 2015 that massive land fire happened at that time, and this is the 2019. As you can see here, that fire alert mostly found in outside concessions. What does it mean with this? So if you only focus on this, they have all the equipment, but outside concession is more harder. They have nothing. And the area that owned by somebody that we don't know, there is no control. There is no system on that area. Next slide. And actually, the land fire is also happening in everywhere, not only in Indonesia, but also the last time was in Australia, in Amazons, in Russia. And Indonesia is not listed in the 10 countries with the biggest land fire in the world right now. I see this as a progress of ourselves in preventing land fire in our country. Next slide. And this is how the system of the fire prevention and fire fighting on the ground. And from the prevention system, readiness of the system, fire quick response, and also partnership with local community. It is very important to do that partnership, to develop that society cares to the fire, community cares to fire. Next slide. And this is how the fire equipment, stakeholder engagements, and also trainings and equipment are established in our organization in the surrounding areas. Next slide. Concerning the pit, because this is also the issue that people concern on. The pit, actually our government has put a strong, very strong effort on these things. And this is the list of regulations in place that everybody in Indonesia has to follow. Next. This is how the pit management is managed in oil palm concessions. And not only following the regulations, but we need to understand several things. Precipitation rates, wind moistures, elevations, water behavior, peak maturity, hydraulic conductivity. Without understanding this kind of the elements, and then you have nothing actually. You don't know how to handle it. So this is the designs of kind of logging designs, and this is the real work on the ground. Next slide. And actually, today, plantations improve quality of life for many Indonesian people. So this is our housings inside the plantations, and you can see from the above here. These are the plantations, housings for the workers, and we do the, what is this? And those people are smiling. Next slide. And smallholder inclusions. I think Dr. Busman has explained a lot about this. So this is underground partnership programs, because for the independent smallholder, declining the CPO price will have a very significant effect for the independent smallholders. So for those, with the CPO price is really declining, like 2 months ago, last year, 1 year, they prefer to let the trees fall down rather than harvest the farm, because of the price and the cost to harvest all those fruits are very, very expensive. So through the partnership with the industries, so then actually the industries and the companies can help the smallholders. So through the training, the assistance, and also the infrastructure for developing the farmer institutions, and also we can help them to get the both ISPO certifications and also RSPOC certifications. And Dr. Rosman has explained that for the certification, not free, even though for the farmers. Next slide. This is contribution from SDGs. So then also Dr. Rosman has explained it also before about the concepts. And this is from the 17th criteria of the indicator of SDGs funding. Palm oil match with those criteria. And this is from the researcher from the University of Indonesia has done the research that 10% of the every single plantations can contribute to this number. Next slide. Okay, thank you. But this is not the end of the presentation, so I have 5 minutes movie. Mbak bisa minta tolong. Sorry, I'm speaking bahasa Indonesia because my English is not that good. Film. Okay. So maybe we can watch this movie with the silent
Actually, we tried this morning just before we started, and movie slow.
Maybe very impressive, maybe then we should
Mother Nature, raw species, endangered wildlife, calls it home. Natural resources provide huge amount of services that can be managed to support human well-being. Palm tree is a miracle of nature that promises a glimmer hope in providing long-lasting energy for a better life. It starts with this palm tree. Many will come after this particular tree. The industry grows to fulfill human needs across the world. The factory will help it to do so. The life of people around it will never be the same again. Their livelihood, their dwelling, their educational institution, and employment. Economic growth for the people, the curiosity to obtain better fruits, comprehensive research activities are enhanced to find a better solution and eco-friendly insights. An industry that doesn't change, just the people living around it. It also brings benefit for all people living in the planet, plantation, factories, and houses. How do we ensure that the nature will sustain and the services will continue? We always say that she will find a way. It may be truthful, but why don't we try to help her find the way? This is the conservation forest of Astra Agrolestari in central Kalimantan. We are giving Mother Nature a chance to nurture the various species to grow, breed, and live. Giving a home to various plants, protecting the critical endangered species. Vegetation analysis, ensuring that the forest will grow. Various species of mammals and reptiles. with them, we are learning how we can live prosperously side by side. By studying them, we will learn to provide their needs. And by protecting them, we can return what our children should have. And what would have been, would be. We share the nature with all living organisms for prosperity and sustainability. Human, Mother Nature, and vicinity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bandung, for this excellent presentation, and I think we can all be happy that Indonesia and along with all its stakeholders in this palm oil is working hard to ensure that we will have a future not only for the people directly involved with the palm oil industry itself, but also for the environment. Now, I invite if any comments, any questions from the participants here, we will be sure to happy to address them. One on the back, please.
Yeah.
Good morning, Honorable our Embassy from Indonesia, Honorable the speakers, and Honorable all the audience. Thank you for the chance. My name is Dani. I am from Indonesia, and I am here a master student of tourism management. So far, we know that mining industry and tourism industry is always become a leading industry who always bring good significant impact of economy. But I'm so happy for this morning because inside those kind of industry, now we have a palm oil industry who has also bring significant impact in economic activities and employment. Even we still have some negative impact of this palm oil plantation. And the second one is I put my appreciation for the government and companies for that effort in getting RSPO and CSPO, because it is one of the big steps as the solution for Indonesian sustainable palm oil in the future. And then my questions are, the first one is I deliver to Indonesian speakers. My question is, how do you see European Union, in this case is especially Poland, as our competitive market for our palm oils? And then what kind of the challenge that we face during the process? And then the second question is I deliver to the speakers from the host of the country, from Poland. This one is I just want to know your opinions about the Indonesia as one of the producers of palm oils in the perspective government to government and business to business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dani. I think I will take another question before we start answering the question from Mr. Dani. The lady in the front.
Okay, good morning. No, not morning. So miss it. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity for me to ask you the question. First, I want to give some appreciate to all the speakers that now I'm a little bit relieved that because there are a lot of negative issues about this palm oil in Indonesia, but after saw your presentation, it makes me feel like it's not so bad for having this palm oil in Indonesia. I want to deliver this question to Indonesian speaker, Bapak Yohanes, Mr. Yohanes, and also Mr. Bandung. As we know, there are these kind of ecological services that from our environment, they give us this water, this soil, this plant, this all of this biodiversity for free for us, and we are using it for doing for having this good well-being for humans. My question is there any analysis of comparing this data that is it better for having this palm oil without having this? Because you know, if we plant some palm oil, it will like decrease the plantation land, decrease the soil structure, or maybe moving some organism or biodiversity at that place before, and it will make us having costs or maybe higher costs to make it at the first place, or maybe if we are decrease the source of water, we have to make it there again, and we have to make some cost of it. I want to ask, is it better to have this palm oil for the cost, comparing by we don't have it. That's all my question. Thank you very much.
May I have your name, please?
Sorry, sorry for introducing myself. I am Fitri Rosadela. I'm from Warsaw University of Life Science, studying environmental protection. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fitria. And from the right side, please.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Prajot. I'm from Warsaw University. I'm studying computer science. My question was about producing energy using the husk and the seed and leftovers. So, it's great that we're producing energy and reusing the materials we already have. But compared to coal or any other form of energy, how much is the carbon output to compare in comparison? That's the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sorry?
Prajot.
Prajot.
Bobby is also.
Bobby.
Yes.
Mr. Bobby. I give the chance to our speakers to address these excellent questions. The first one is from Mr. Dani about what are the market and challenges from Indonesia to the EU. So, Madam Ambassador is going to answer this question.
Because it's about Poland. Well, of course, there's so much potential of palm oil export to Poland here, because you know that as Pak Bandung has shown in his slide, that palm oil is actually in our daily life. In every hour, we encounter palm oil in our not only in our drinks or food and beverages that we take, but also in everything. Like in the clothes that I'm wearing, it's also in the process also use palm oil. So there's so much potentials. However, we still have some challenges. The government of Poland is actually not very hostile. I shouldn't say not very hostile. Not at all hostile in terms of the palm oil issues. Unlike some other countries in the European Union, actually the Polish government has been very encouraging us to progress in our sustainability efforts in palm oil industry. However, the challenges is that there are still rumors. As I mentioned earlier in my speech, there are negative campaign about palm oil, and they don't have substantiated data, unfounded data about that could prove what they claim as true. For instance, we still see some products here in some supermarkets that put no palm oil in their labels. Actually, we could. Well, they could just, if we ask them, they would say, well, yeah, we don't use palm oil, as there is no negative things about that. But the negative impact comes when you put it there, no palm oil issues, implying that when using palm oil, something bad. So this is the challenge that we still face. So this kind of gathering is actually to disseminate more information about palm oil. As earlier mentioned, I just want to underline that when people say palm oil harm environment, it's less harmful than rapeseed, because palm oil use less land to produce it in terms of the tons. Rapeseed, sunflower, soybean. It's facts say that. But again, I would say, I think I safely could say that this is market, market competition. The trade competition, trade war between the producer of rapeseed and soybean and palm oil palm oil. And to tell you the truth, I just learned it a couple of months ago when I was in a exhibition. I found out that actually palm oil is much cheaper than rapeseed and sunflower and soybean. And for producers, actually, they would, when their inputs are cheaper, then the price, of course, will be cheaper. So that's why this is actually, this negative campaign is just because of the market competition. So potential, there's a lot of potentials here, and I hope everybody's here. We're convinced about this presentation from Pak Bandung that Indonesia is doing something. We still have a lot of homework to do. We are not there yet, but we are going there. And I mentioned, this is a lame excuse, but I just want to say that we are only have our independence in 5 years ago, or almost 75 years ago, and you cannot compare the country who has had independence 100 years, more than 100 years, 200 years, with us. We are going there. So I think we need to disseminate this information so that more people would give us support, so that the government would apply this policy and also do the because for instance ISPO is a must. So now the law enforcement is really crucial. So I think it's mine. I don't know if the speakers want to add something.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I can add some comment on the first question from Danny. Yeah. You asked about the Poland markets to the palm oil. Again, when I explained about the market entry, yes, I hope that the Poland market let the competitions between the palm oil and the other vegetable oil, and again we want the Poland market has a fair competitions between the palm oil and the other vegetable oil. That's mean that when I explain about the market entry, that I hope that the Poland's market can accommodate things, the sustainable palm oil, rather than to deter all the palm oil, not suitable and also suitable one. That is what my hopings about the Poland markets. And then for the second questions from Fitria, I think we discussed about you asked about the costs, why we need to choose the deal with the poor farmer, we deal to the poverty instead of the environmental conservations. again, it's my opinion. I think the opportunity cost, if we not deal with the poverty, if we doesn't deal with the poor farmer, I think we have the high opportunity cost. If you can imagine, if we have the poor people, yeah, if we have the hunger people, yeah, so this kind of people can do anything. Yeah. Maybe they can make some riots or some chaos or anything else. So maybe Indonesia will be in turmoil. That is, I think, yeah, I agree with the government of Indonesia, of course. Yeah, yeah, we need to deal with the poverty. Yeah, and later on, again, we have to improve. Yeah, toward the sustainable of environments. Yeah, that is my opinions. Thank you.
So I think for the first question, I don't have to answer that question because if Miss Ambassador has explained it very well, and also Dr. Rusman also has added valuable answers on that. For the second question, actually was also answered, but from the economic point of view, but social point of view. But I would like to add the ecological point of view, so that if you mean that thing, yeah. So that if you talk about the consequences, our we are here has the consequences. We need cost to stay here, to sit here, to talk here. You add, right? And you drink that water, so it's really cost. And for the developments also needs cost. Where the costs or the fund come from? So I don't have to answer that question, right? But the question is that how you do it, the methodology that you need to develop to improve the ecosystem quality, to make them sustained. That's the things that you need to focus on. So that's why that I explained what our effort and how we maintain our ecosystems, how we maintain the water, and how we maintain the services that, for example, the bird may be staying inside the forest, but they forage food in the plantations. So that actually we cannot separate, okay, this is the plantations and this is the forest, because the bird moving around. So the interactions of the species in the natural habitat and the human-dominated landscape is something that you need to, this is never-ending story. Not only in palm oil, in the paddy plantations, in apple plantations, and in apple plantation maybe you have an issue about pollinators. The number of pollinators in apple plantation decreasing because of the pesticide, for example. So that every single commodity has its own challenge. So that as a human, so that especially for you that's pursuing your PhD or master, so this is something that you need to focus on. Let's make my answer. So for the third, do you like to answer the third question? It's very hard. About the carbon emissions. So that, you know, the carbon emissions for the palm oil coming from two different aspects. The first is land use change. You need to see the historical land use change first before you judge something. Is the palm oil coming from the forest, or the plantations, the palm oil coming from longover forest, or the plantations coming from other plantations, or arable land? This, you need to study on these things first before you see the emission. But actually the land use change, you cannot say the emission because of the emission is something upstairs, right? This is the chemical. But maybe carbon was more appropriate on it. And the other thing is from the production itself. From the productions itself, without the land use change, the biggest emissions coming from the palm oil effluent. because it emits methane. So that's why in the future, so then we develop the methane captures to decrease the emissions from the methane because of anaerobic decompositions, and to transform that methane become the energy. But for the cell and fiber, the cell and fiber coming from the CO2 absorbed by the plant itself. Even though that you burn that cell, and also, this is very technical, right? The fiber, so meaning the emission is zero. It is the cycle, photosynthesis cycle, so then you have to learn about it. So I hope it can explain your questions.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And I would like to also invite Dr. Roge Wisniewska for the question from Mr. Dani about your opinion on the Indonesian palm oil.
I think there is a lot of links between Indonesia and Poland businesses, and not only in palm oil, but we found the problem about palm oil as very significant. So it is why we have this coalition of palm oil, for sustainable palm oil, and we should cooperate to find the most sustainable way for this challenge, you know, and it's important not only to educate people, public, but we should cooperate in the make research cooperation to make you find the way which help you to have both environmental conservation and well-being for people. Because sustainable development, it isn't only a nature conservation, it's both for people, for environment and economic growth. And all in Poland, in Indonesia, I think we have very similar challenges connected with sustainable development. And when we start cooperation, and we can help each other to find the best way, because I think it isn't good to have a choice between environmental conservation and well-being of people. We have to find, both in Poland and in Indonesia, a way of economic growth for healthy and well-being society and a very high biodiversity and nature values.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Now we open for our second round of questions. Are there any? I see 1, 2, 1. Please.
Thank you for the question, for the chance, I mean. I'm here, Tanti, from the Association, Asia Pacific Student Association from Pistola University. So I would like to address question and invitation for both speakers from Poland and Indonesia. The first question is there any reliable source or website or information that we can share about to handle the negative information about palm oil, so we can make, you know, our friends or the people around us to believe that actually palm oil is not negative for the environment, and also because we know that your goal is we want to earn money to give food to the people without hurting the environment. And then the second one is the invitation, because this is not the first time for us, APSA, to attend the seminar or discussion about palm oil. Before we have attended in October with the Malaysian associations. So we would like to invite for both Polish palm oil coalitions and also Indonesian palm oil association maybe in the future, because next year we would like to plan to hold a seminar also with environment topic, which is about palm oil, because we want to share the information that you have misperception or misunderstanding about the palm oil itself. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tanti. Can I see you, please?
Hello, thank you for the chance to ask some question. I would like to mention the slide about palm oil production. It's about 11 million ton, and the export capacity 5 million ton. It means the production surplus more than double. If we use the palm oil only for the daily life or something like that, or we need to seek the new product for palm oil to get higher price for oil. That is my point of view. Is it possible to build energy production from the palm oil, such as Brazil, energy production from the sugar? They make national energy from the sugar to meet the demand of the energy in there. And I think biofuel and the palm oil is the good change to develop in industry. I'm from Kisla University Energy Management. Thank you.
May I have your name, please?
Oh, my name is Parma.
Parma.
Yes.
And from the gentleman on the front.
Good morning. My name is Jirasak from Indonesian, Thailand, here in Warsaw. First of all, in Thailand, we have some issues that we, as a local people, are living for ages. And then one day there was coming the international standard, and we look at it, and we look up and say, how can we reach that standard? It is so hard. And so from our perspective, we understand the Indonesian farmers and the government agency who are trying to solve these problems to reach that standard. And I'd like to give a moral support for you and effort for that. My point is, I've been sitting here since this morning as a layperson. I have a very limited knowledge about palm oil. So in many issues, many aspects was quite new for me. To admit that in some technical issues, I'm not quite following. But as a layperson who have no knowledge, I think my point is more like a comment than a question. Is that as a normal audience who have no knowledge, I would be interested to know one big question. What would the world be if there's no palm oil? For instance, you presented in one of your slides that we have to replace all these oils with other plantations which takes more land. In that case, if there's no palm oil, how further or bigger lands we have to replace them? And in all these plant productions that palm oils are involved, if there's no palm oil, to replace them with other products, how could the world be without it? I think that would be interesting for the audience to be related to.
Thank you very much, sir. May I invite our speakers to address these excellent questions?
Okay, thank you very much. I will try to respond the first question from Tanti. You asked about the websites, which you can get the information how to have the positive campaign. I think there are some websites, for instance, the SPO, they have own websites. And then, but again, maybe the embassy can also make website to collect to gather all the information from the different sources from different websites, because we have a lot of websites actually who you can get the information, but again we have the what we call you need time to get all together. Yeah, that I think that the issue in Indonesia. So maybe I can ask the embassy. Maybe you can collect together all the information about the sustainable palm oil, because we have different sources. Yeah, we have the different websites. Yeah, and then for the second, yes, of course, the government of Indonesia, as Dr. Bandung says, we try also to increase the domestic demands. Yeah. So why the government of Indonesia now try to transform about the biodiesel programs from B20 to B30. Yeah, it's quite ambitious targets. Yeah, from the 20% mix of the biodiesels to 30% mix of biodiesel. This is one of the efforts of the government in Indonesia, how to increase the domestic markets for the use of palm oil. Maybe Dr. Bandung can explore more about the how to increase the market demand of the palm oil in Indonesia. Thank you.
I think you already covered all the questions, right? Okay, for the Tanti, senang sekali bisa ketemu ya. Sorry, speaking as Indonesia because I'm very happy to see Indonesian students here. And then yes, I'm very happy for your invitations. Not me actually, but Indonesian Palm Oil Association is very happy to come to your seminars next year. Yeah.
We plan to do it next year. If we can do it maybe in the next semester, but it's still in next year, around January or February.
Okay, January maybe palm oil industry is very busy. I know, just kidding. For the website, the information by Dr. Rosman has explained it, but I would like to add one. PPDPKS itu apa ya? Palm oil fund. Then just write it on the PPDPKS, Badan Pengelola Dana Kelapa Sawit, so that you can find all the information there, and also the research. Because of this, also this fund institutions also provide assistance, also fund for many research, palm oil related research in Indonesia. Also scholarship, yes. And then for the so you can find everything there, and also you can find everything in the Indonesian Palm Oil Association website also. But you know that the problem now is that the negative issue informations, if you write palm oil, something negative on the top.
Group of power, group of production, because the market of the oil production around the world, I think it's more than 50 billion bucks. So the enemies of the palm oil production were using two fields for this war. First field is social media. In the social media, we're creating the very black public relation. It's really hard to fight with this, because the social media just now we're creating the public opinion very fast, and we're creating the public opinion, and they can creating also the revolutions. The second field is politicians, and especially European Parliament. Because I'm talking about the European Parliament because we are in Europe, I'm Polish citizen, so I visited European Parliament. I spoke with the ambassador of Indonesia to the European Parliament, and he said to me that it's some group of the members of the Parliament. I will not tell the nationality or the names, but to create the ban against the palm oil, it was necessary of activity of 2 or 3 persons. 2 or 3 persons can block the huge export of the palm oil to Europe. 3 persons. So my question now is to you guys, do you have any program how to fight with black pub regulation in the social media? Maybe you have imagined about campaign in the social media? And then others, are you ready to use Polish friends, Polish members of parliament? One of them was sitting here close to you, so I think that he will do the good job for Indonesia. But are you ready to use the Polish friends in the European Union to support Indonesia in this war? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You raised excellent points, and I'm sure our country, Indonesia, will act upon this. And if there are comments from the speakers?
No.
Thank you very much.
Polish Coalition for Sustainable Palm Oil, after developing the website, we plan to make a big campaign for the palm oil using, but we have to use facts and truth. So the first step is to collect data. After this, prepare the website, and after this, communications issue.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Hauser, for your kind testimony about your trip to Indonesia. I think, if I could bring everybody in Poland to Indonesia, I would. Because he is believing, as both the speakers said, come to Indonesia to see what is really happening there. Well, it's true, we have one, now I think the government is making a policy of how to create concerted efforts, including how to manage the social media about this negative campaign. We are not going to dance to the music of this negative campaigner. We are going to devise our own campaign about this. And we are in the process of this, but this meeting is actually part of it. Last 4 months ago, we also tried something during the Humanitarian Expo. You also was there and kindly visit our booth during the Humanitarian Expo to spread the information about the good palm oil, the sustainability palm oil that we are doing in Indonesia. So to answer the question about is there any strategy that the government of Indonesia has, odds to counter this negative campaign, we are building this strategy, and we have the government, the president has last month he had a new cabinet, a brand new cabinet, and we have a new foreign minister, vice foreign minister, and he was given a specific mandate, including this the palm oil issue. So let's hope in 1 or 2 months we will have that. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much for your presence. And for everybody who are here, thank you very much for your kind attention and patience. And I hope you bring something out of this room. And if you could be, our ambassadors of telling other people about the good, what we are doing in terms of palm oil, because we need your help, we need your support. And Dr. Banu has said that, we need all support of every stakeholders on this. Then we count on your support. And please, if you have more question about this, approach this gentleman. We are going to have lunch after this, and lunch is served outside. And we are going to play a documentary video about palm oil, but it lasts 40 minutes. So if you don't have to stay here for 40 minutes, but if you bring your food here, you are most welcome. We could bring food inside the room, right? Yeah. So with this, I'll give back to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. And with those excellent points, I would like to invite all the participants to give a great round of applause. Thank you. And now I will give the mic back to the MC.
Thank you. So before to end the session, can we take a picture, and then the ambassador also will give the token of appreciation for the panelists.
This is sustainable. This is sustainable batik. While we are taking picture, you are invited to have the lunch.
Should we get pictures with the master?
Di pantang-pantang.